Hi, in this video, we are going to look at the new features added in UiPath Data Service. And as an example, we are going to look at the three entities, case details, case history, and customer details. Together, these entities creates a backbone of a typical contact center scenario wherein customer details store the information of the customer that gets in touch with the contact center, and then we have case details, which keeps a track of all the cases that has been raised within this contact center and has a relationship with customer details to actually establish a relationship between what cases have been raised by which customers. And then we have case history, which basically keeps a track of all the conversations that has happened between the contact center and the customer for a particular case. And in this case as well, there will be a relationship between the case history entry and a case details record, uh, establishing a relationship that the case history entry belongs to that particular case record that we have in the case details entity. As part of the case history entity, as well as for case details entity, we have fields that refers to one of the choice sets. This choice set is given here, and the choice set actually depicts the teams that this particular contact center has. Now that we have got an overview of the complete entity schema, we can look at the new features that are there. And for that, you can open the workflow that has been provided to you, and it will look something like this. Before I begin, let me just point out to the new additions in the UiPath Data Service, and those are the batch job operations, which is create multiple entity, delete multiple entity, and update multiple entity. And we are going to look at each one of them. So let's start by uh, looking at create multiple entity records. For this, we are going to create new customers within the customer details entity, and the customer details that we are going to add is going to be from the screen. This screen contains information of 100 customers, and that is what we are going to put it into the customer details entity. The basic work has already been done for you. For example, scraping of the data, um, showing you exactly how many numbers of records are there. And then we have to actually go ahead and create multiple entity records. Use create multiple entity records to actually insert the newly created customers uh, into the uh, into the customer details entity. So here we are going to use customer details, and we just have to put in the customers record that has been created, uh, which is equivalent to the output property of adding to customer list, which is going to be the customers. That's what we're doing here. And for the output piece, output will provide the customer records that has already been added. This will also contain all the system fields populated, and that's what we are going to use to count in terms of how many successful entries were made. All right, once I do this, my workflow is complete, and if I run this, it got the data, and it is showing the number of entries that is there. And now it has created the records, which will look something like this. 100 records are created, and if I go back to my data service, I'll be able to actually see that into the customer details page. So the 100 first 100 was already added, so the total entry should be 200 items, and that's what we have. So we have all the 200 items added to data service. All right, now that we have added the data, let's try to update data. And for updating the data, we will look at the case details entity, and in here you will find that a couple of items have been created where assigned team has no value at all. So what we want to do is we want to update the assigned team wherever no team has been assigned to that particular case to default to one solution. So if we go ahead and look at the workflow for bulk updating, first of all, we are querying the records to get all the case detail record where assigned team is empty. You can build this query from the query builder directly. That's what I did. And then uh, we will iterate each of the case details to add the one solution team. Again, this is a choice set, and that's how it is being provided with teams.one solution in the object notation format. And then what we need to do is we need to update the multiple records, and for that we are going to use the update multiple entity records. And then uh, in here I have to provide the input records, which which is going to be case details, which has got this item already updated. And then we can take the output records as well to see how many records have been updated. And let's put a message box to see the output. And we can add records dot count. This should do. We have to choose case details. All right, now that we have the workflow in place, let's give a quick run. And according to the outlet that we have, we should get the updated records as 2, and which we have already. And if I refresh this, I will get the assigned team as updated as one solution. All right, now we have seen the updating of multiple records as well. Now let's go to the next one, which is deleting the records. For deleting multiple entity records, we are going to look at a case wherein uh, we go to the case details, and within case details, let's say one of the cases becomes inactive. Maybe the case ended. In this case, what we want to do is we want to delete all the items that is related to that particular case. In this case, the case ID is 1, and let's see, the case ID is 1 for this one as well. So we are going to we are going to actually delete all the case history that is associated with that particular case. And for that, we already have couple of pre-built activities within the workflow. So first of all, we are going to query the case details entity. Wherever the active is false, we just made the first entry as false in this case. So we will get that in case records. And then for each item in case records, that is each of the case details that has been turned off or whose status is not active anymore, we are going to uh, query the entity records for case history. and wherever this case ID matches the record, all the case history records of that particular case will be stored in here. And what we need to do next, it's pretty simple. Now that we have all the case history records, we simply have to go ahead and delete it. We're going to use the delete multiple entity records in here. First of all, let's set it to case history. We want to delete it from here, and then we have to provide the record IDs. And for providing the record IDs, we have to get the list out, and the best way to go about it would be to have the link statement, and in here we are going to put that. All right, so we have the delete entity records available as well. So let's try running this and see what happens. So if I go back and show you the case history, this has completed. So if I go back and refresh this, we should have the first two removed, and there you go. The case histories case histories for the inactive case was removed. And that's pretty much about the new activities that has been introduced. Now let's talk a little bit about the role-based access permissions. Now suppose in case details, we don't want the customer care executive to actually go ahead and modify some fields, and in the interest of the demo, we are going to choose assign to. We don't want the customer care executive to go ahead and modify the assign to field. He has the ability to read the field but not go ahead and modify it. And for that, let me enable the role based access. Once I enabled the role based access, I'll get this notification. And once I click on manage roles, I'll be redirected to the roles part of it. I have a custom role already created in here, one solution executive. And if I edit this, uh, when you create a new role based access field, it will highlight for that particular entity that there are certain fields that require data permission and I need to add them. If I add them, I will have to provide them that assigned to is the field that I need to add it to this particular role based permissions. And in here, I want to provide only read access to the one solution executive, right? And I will save this. And once I go back to the users, I will see that one solution executive is assigned to this particular user, which is another ID that we are going to log in from. So now that we have provided only read-only access to the user, if I go and log in for that particular user, let me bring the user online. If I go ahead and open the case details now, if I see on the data side, I will see that I'm able to edit all of the fields, but not the assigned to field because I have restricted access on the assigned to field. So that's pretty much about the role-based field permissions that you can create within a data service. Uh, and the next thing that I would like to talk about is the Open API access. And for Open API access, you will see this a new option that has been added to the drop downs within data service. And if I click on this, you will get an option of downloading this or copying the Open API link. I'll download this Open API, and I will show you um, all the Open APIs available for my data service instance. I'll open the editor for that. Let me go ahead and bring this out as well. So, All right, so this is my uh, open API access. This particular JSON file will show you all the uh, endpoints, all the open APIs available for my data service scenario. For example, I have the option of playing around with case details using these open API endpoints. Similarly, for case history and customer details, we have all these things. And to play around with open API access, what you need to do is you need to have an external application configured into your automation cloud. So in the admin section, in the external application preview, you can create a new application by clicking on add new application, and you will get all these fields that you need to fill in. And what I've done is I have already uh, created one of the application of which I've named data service demo. I have this app ID that I'm going to use, and the application type is of non-confidential. So there is no secret key that is generated. If you keep it confidential, you will have the secret key that you need to store confidentially within your external application calls as well. And then you have the scopes that you can add, and that's what I did for data service open API. I've provided the scope as read, write, and schema read. So data read, data write, and schema read are the three options that is available currently for data service open API that you can provide access on. And then you have to, if your external application accepts redirect URLs, you will provide that URL in here. In here, I've provided the redirect URL of Postman, which is what I'm going to use to authenticate myself. All right, so I have configured my authentication like that. I've provided the identity endpoints for authorize and token. And then I have the client ID punched in. I don't have a client secret, so I don't need to put in that. And I have provided the scopes as well as given in the data service scope that's there. So if I create on get new token, this will authenticate me, go to the Postman and create a new token for me to use. And this is the token. Let me just copy this. And once I copy this, I'll be able to use it in here to authorize my um, Swagger demo. This is authorized now. And now I will be able to use the commands directly from try it out. So if I go in here, I execute this, I should be able to read all the items that is there within the case details. I have three case details already available with all the details given in here. Also, this expands on the relationships as well. Uh, there is a depth level that you can define. So there, by default, this is 2, and you can provide the values from 1 to 3. So if there are 3 embedded relationship for this entity, you will get everything expanded within the data that is being passed by the API. Similarly, if I go ahead and try something else, let's say let's try on the case history side. Let's put in try it out, execute. I should get the case history as well, just the one that is there right now. And similarly, this is also expanded on the customer ID. So that's pretty much it about the Open API access. And with that, we have covered all the three aspects of the new features that has been introduced. The first one were the activities to deal with batch operations, multiple records operations, and we have create, update, and delete. Then we looked at role-based field permissions. and we saw how powerful that feature can be. And then we looked at the open API that has been introduced in data service, and how to create your authentication mechanism and actually go ahead and use the open APIs. uh, that's it for this particular session. Thank you for watching.